Hey everybody, this is Perch. I've done videos in the past talking about making social media work for you and kind of this dynamic about, should you even be on social media? We've seen some creators, Jonathan Hickman, Sean Gordon Murphy, leave Twitter and by all accounts are far happier being gone from it. Because the crazy thing about it is that, and people have commented before, the Zach has commented about this before. Lots of people have. It is a time suck. It is you don't quite realize how much time you're investing into Twitter until you kind of cut it out of your life, or you just stop for a week, or whatever else, and then you find yourself with all this extra time. And Twitter has this weird kind of angry way of, and Facebook too, of trying to claw itself back into you. If you kind of get quieter on Twitter, people will start concern trolling you about why you're so quiet. And the mechanism kind of is such that it's people start to almost take offense that you're quieter. It's all negative. I mean, it's one of the weirdest kind of systems. I have friends who've deleted their Facebook accounts, and there's this almost backlash of, are you cowardly running from Facebook, or are you trying to hide some, do you have a bunch of, children tied up in your basement? Like, why are you deleting Facebook? What are you hiding? And it's such a weird kind of sick atmosphere. It's very hard to achieve that balance. If you're new into comics, and this is the whole backward way that it all works, if you're coming in new to this community, you know a couple of people, first off, you're going to be concern trolled, pressured really aggressively to do a few things. You're going to need to run a block bot, and the list for that bot is going to be handed to you by somebody you may or may not really know, but it's going to be really important. You want to get the baddies out of your list, so run this block bot. And I've seen people, and in fact, I experienced this myself when I created a new account to just talk about things. Because at the time when I came into this, one of the first things I did with my Perch account was to say a blacklist is stupid. There was somebody who was passing around, we're going to blacklist these people. And I don't remember, there's some guy, this was all, I want to say pre-Comicsgate, but Comicsgate might have been coming into the picture. I'm not quite, I don't quite remember the timing. But anyway, somebody's passing around like, we're going to blacklist people. And they had all these names on there. And I said, that's stupid. It's not actually going to accomplish much of anything. In fact, if anything, it's just going to rile everybody up. At the time, there was like a small handful of people that Doug Ernst was correctly pointing out were being jackasses on Twitter. And so this idea of a blacklist and somebody circulating and like, take the pledge. And I was like, yeah, this is dumb. It's dumb. And this caught the attention of a couple people, I think, who are comics professionals who are like, it's one of us. And I got the, because I posted some art I did like right about the same time, like right as I just for kind of for comedy. I mean, not really intending to do anything. And so I got two different people kind of out of the woodwork be like, hey, welcome to comics community. It's this very, very eerie, and I've got a screenshot somewhere. Hopefully I can dig that up, but very eerie kind of like, hey, you're new to Twitter. I don't know if you know it around here, but there's a lot of bad people around here. And here's a block bot list you should run, because this will get those people out of your life. It was amazing how quickly that activated. And I remember thinking at the time, and I still think it's true, is if you're new to comics, if you're trying to break into the industry, the absolute worst thing you can do is block a ton of people out of that list. The challenge is this, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again, these block bot lists, one, they're curated and created by people who may or may not have your best interest at heart and are also letting their own personal opinions get into things. You know how some of these block bot, and it's been sad when you get certain creators who are, very anti-Comicsgate, very, aggressively, like they've taken the pledge and they've written the tweets and everything else, but they find themselves on this block bot list, and then suddenly, like Gail Simone is blocking them, and they're going, how did this happen? And it's like, well, you offended the person who made the list in some crazy way. Maybe they're jealous of you. Maybe you offended them. Maybe they slipped and hit the wrong button. I mean, I'll give you an example of how some of this can happen on my end. I'm fighting my aggressive war against the do you want to be my boyfriend bots that show up in the comments. And so you have the remove the comment, you have the hide the user from the channel. I've used the hide the user from the channel exclusively with that group of bots. And I don't. It doesn't seem to do any good whatsoever. I mean, as anyone who looks in the comments of videos can clearly see. But anyway, you hit that, and it it, it it's very easy as you're going down the list of do you love me, hide user, do you love me, hide user, do you love me, hide user. Once I'm going down like not thinking about it, and there's somebody's regular comment like, hey Perch, thanks for the video, and I hit hide user. I'm like, oh crap, and it's gone. And so then I'm going through the list of people in the site trying to undig this thing. It took me like 10 minutes to try and figure this thing out. Who was the person I accidentally, and then I restored it and all as well. But at any rate, blog bots, the challenge is it's a wide net, and you're taking out a lot of people who are, just passive observers, or at worst, people who are in theory are, quote unquote, on your side, but they managed to offend whatever weirdo put this list together. So it was ominous that it came so quickly. And if you're a new creator, you want some control over who you're blocking and who you're not blocking. It's a bad idea to do that right out of the gate, because you're going to nuke a bunch of people that may or may not be, against you. And your goal is to get recognition. Once you've got recognition, I'm talking this by the way purely from, the individual standpoint, purely from your standpoint. What's good for you? Forget customers, fans, any of that kind of stuff. Just what's good for you. You want more work. You want more recognition. You want more visibility. You want to, have your name out there so you can, in theory, get more work. That's your goal, right? That's the purpose of what you're trying to do. And so you want to be very cautious about limiting things straight out the gate. All you're doing is you're limiting your potential job options, and you're putting your fate in the hands of, these helpful people who are going to help guide your career. But keep in mind, they may or may not, and 9 times out of 10 not, have your best interest at heart. Just why would you willingly hand over your career to somebody else who, again, it's dangerous. It's dangerous business. But this is the world of social media. So if you come on and you do these things, as I said, I've done these videos where I talk about, figuring out a couple things you want to post that promote your work or who you are. And then for your own sanity, use the scheduler tool. This is one of those things that people don't realize Twitter has. You can use a third party, but you can actually just sign up in the right ways in the settings and do this yourself. Schedule out your tweets for a week. And then this amazing thing happens. You just turn off Twitter and you don't go back for a week. Like, you just leave. You can manipulate the settings so that you're only notified if somebody DMs you or you get like a direct response. And then that's the only time you actually turn on the thing. You don't browse looking for trouble, which is what seems to get a lot of people in danger. Because the more time you spend on it, there's this psychological thing that happens in your brain where you want that time to have a return on investment. You want, you're spending an hour on Twitter. Some dim part of your mind knows you spent an hour on Twitter, so you want to see something out of it. So what can you see out of Twitter? Well, not contracts or work, but you can see likes and retweets. So then you become hooked on, like, how many likes am I getting? And I'm telling you, the amount, no joke, I've said this before, people think I'm exaggerating, a decent amount of creators and some of the other people I've had on the channel, they have had the same thing that I'm about to describe. Somebody comes to them and says, I'm thinking about pulling down my tweet because I posted up and I only got like 12 likes in 3 hours. I only got 12 likes, and I'm thinking I need to pull that down because it's embarrassing and I feel bad and I need a drink. Like, if you find that thought wandering through your head, abort now. Like, get out before the toxin fully sets in. It's not healthy for you to think this way, because this is all completely disconnected from your work. By and large, your follower count, the likes, the retweets, and all that, it's not an indication of how popular, successful, or financially stable you are at all. Look, this is not shade thrown at anyone. I promise. This isn't a backhanded kind of compliment. If you go on YouTube and you look at the really popular comic book YouTubers, the people who have like 1 million subs or 500,000 subs or more, just tons and tons of subs. And then you look at the videos, and yes, they're getting a lot of hits, but the percentage of subscribers to views on a video is 1/100th or less. It's tiny, including mine, by the way. I mean, I'm in theory going to cross 10,000 at some point, maybe by the time this video airs, and I'll get videos that get 2-3,000. That's great. 2-3,000 views sounds awesome. But it's still a fraction of the subscriber count. These things are not related to each other. People subscribe and then forget. I'm pretty convinced that some of my growth is some bot farm has subscribed. I should go through all my subscribers. I guarantee I get down there to like the bottom, and there's like a bunch of weird bots in there. And that's why I'm getting plagued by these goddamn sex ads. Anyway, it's meaningless. I guess my point is it is meaningless. And I know that it is a source of pride. It's a source of attention, and people read a lot of things into it. I was seeing what is it? It was from McKeever, I think. Sean McKeever was posting out something along the lines of, "Hey, if you're Comicsgate and you compliment my work, don't think you're getting a retweet out of it." It's like, and this is where I'm naive. Is anyone thinking this? Like, I know some people are, but who in their right minds? And sorry, shouldn't say it that way. Um, it's not healthy if you are posting things in the hopes that the person you're posting it at will retweet you. That's not. There's no value in that. It's not healthy. It's not good. I mean, I guess you're excited to get a signal boost, but I mean, gross. Especially if you don't like the stuff in the first place. Like, here's the crazy part, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. When I've said something on this channel or on Twitter, like, I like this, I mean it. I really legitimately like it. I've read it. I like it. I appreciate it. If I say nothing, chances are I either missed it. I've got a really awesome comic by a guy I consider at this point a very good friend. I haven't read it yet. I haven't commented. Now I'm starting to worry that because I haven't commented, the guy thinks I secretly hate it. I'm sure I don't. I just haven't gotten to it yet. It's been a busy end of the year. But yikes! Don't post things hoping you're going to get retweeted, and then don't try and play three-dimensional chess, wondering if, like, is this person? I'm not going to signal boost this guy because he's got CG in it. I mean, like, ugh, it's too much work. I'm sorry. It's way too much work. Nobody thinks this way. Nobody should think this way. People do think this way, but nobody should. So it's such a waste of energy and time. I mean, there's so much to do. Like, that is you're exhausting yourself. Like a boxing match where, like, one boxer's just kind of zigzagging around and the other boxer's like wildly throwing punches and not landing them, and they're wearing themselves out. That's what this feels like. It's like a lot of social media battles feels like people wearing themselves out. The entire dynamic around, this faction of CG versus that faction of CG versus anti-CG versus anti-CG but professional versus, I mean, there's this like, it's too much work. It's way too much work. I'm sorry, for me. If you're into it, it is your choice, and I'm not belittling your choice. If you're up for it, great. For me, it's way too much work to focus on this stuff. And if I say, like, I like Tim Seeley's, little sex astronaut comic. I think it's funny. Money Shot. I think it's a fun comic. It's a unique idea. It's written kind of snappy and cool. I like it. I mean it. I've said I've liked it. Tim Seeley's given me a like, and I felt validated for the rest of the day. No, I did. It's like everybody's good. And then somebody in one of the threads, I concerned trolled, like, "Hey, don't like that Perch guy? He's been one of the baddies at times." And I'm like, you know what? Do whatever you want. Tim Seeley, like it, don't like it, whatever else. It's all, guys. It's such a mess. This is seriously way more effort than any of this deserves. I mean, comics are wonderful, and I love to read comics. I read old comics. I read new comics. I am not one of these people who's like, all new comics are trash. They're not. There's good comics you can find every single week. There are. At least I'm able to find them. Maybe you can't, but I find good comics that I like to read. I don't think the industry is collapsing tomorrow. I think the industry definitely has massive problems, as I've said before. I don't need the industry to collapse. In fact, quite the opposite. I want the industry healthy. No, not just because I'm a retailer, but because I happen to like comics. So I don't want the industry to collapse. It's not in my best interest as a fan or as a retailer. So I want it to stay alive. And I'm going to fight for it to stay alive. That doesn't mean that there aren't problems. We can't live in a world of the comic industry is about to die. It's screwed. It's got like 2 minutes left to live. It's dead. Or every single thing is peachy keen and it's perfect just the way it is. Neither of those things are true. There are major problems in comic industry. When I see comic pros having to do GoFundMe's to fix a routine injury, like happened to way too many this year, there's a problem. When one of the most celebrated and constantly referenced writers, Warren Ellis, it gets involved in this kind of nonsensical bullshit that happened in 2020, there's a problem. Abe Bazanga being employed as long as he was, there's a problem. Quality control falling off the map is a problem. If there's lots of problems, there's a million problems. People valuing superficial, weird elements over good, sustainable stories is a problem. Comic prices is a problem. I can spend 50 minutes talking about all the problems. Social media is a trap. It can be a very useful tool if you do it right. I think it can be very, very helpful, but it also leans into this problem where, I'll end with this. So first, I respect a huge amount. Just a surprise, not surprises here, but just one of the great things. I think that this is well said. The comics industry is like being in a Viking ship, and we're all supposed to pull our weight and head in the same direction. I try and pull 110% and encourage those around me to row the same way. But the boat is slowing down because people at the back are dragging their hands in the water, trying to push others out, or praying that the ship will sink. What's worse, the captains who are steering the ships aren't paying attention to the rocks or the coming storm. And that, in a nutshell, is our problem. But it's also our opportunity. Because there are people, a lot of people, who are pulling 110%, who are pushing, who are determined to row. And really the only question is, how long before we can jettison those people off the back, and how long before maybe some of the captains can either be replaced or wake the fuck up and start steering us in a good direction. But the fundamentals are, there's a lot of people rowing very hard to make this comic industry great. And we need to start recognizing those people, focusing on those people. And maybe that's the happy thing, the good thing. And stop letting social media dominate the conversation. Social media is not comics. Social media is this bitter tool that people use to talk about comics, to manipulate comics, or in some cases, backstab each other. Social media is the people with their arms in the water dragging the ship back. It could be a tool for good, but more often than not, it's used for the opposite. That's my take anyway. Thanks to everybody who supported the channel. Whenever this video is probably going to come out like January 6th, and it will make no sense whatsoever. But as I'm recording this, it's the dawn of 2021. Hopefully a better year than 2020, and hopefully a place where everybody gets on board and starts rowing the ship in one direction. Thanks for listening.